I would like to call this special village board meeting of Thursday, September 29, 2022 to order. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Trustee Schmidt,
Here.
Trustee Siddiqui,
Here.
Trustee Light,
Here.
Trustee Meritato,
Here.
Trustee Pojek,
Here.
Trustee Schroeder,
Here.
President Coker.
Yes. Please stand and join me in saying the pledge of
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We now move to public discussion of agenda items. Is there anyone in the public that would like to address this board on agenda items? None? This special board meeting is being held at the request of Acting Village Administrator, Mr. Flint, for a demonstration by PCOM. Mr. Flint.
Thank you, Mayor and Board, and I sincerely appreciate taking time out of your Thursday to be with us tonight so we can get a demonstration of a new vendor we want to bring to the village and a new completely different system for payroll to the village. This conversation we're going to have tonight is probably going to take an hour to hour 15. Really didn't think it was appropriate at a board meeting, take that much time up at a board meeting. And due to how involved this is and the change in the processes of the village, I thought it was important that we have a meeting dedicated to this, just so everybody has a concept of what it is, how it's going to change everything, and how it's going to really benefit us in the village. This process started 4 or 5 months ago when we started getting in applications for various positions, and the applications were coming in the hundreds. And our process for taking care of that many applications is honestly archaic. And we started researching better HR management systems for onboarding and offboarding and employee retention. And we went through, Nicole was in charge with finance and everybody in the HR and admin staff. They went through Zoom meetings and interviews and talked to 6 or 7 different companies. They're all outlined in the memorandum I wrote to you guys for board docs. So after all of these interviews and meetings, we finally hit on Paycom. And Paycom really fits the needs for what we're looking for in a HR system. Currently, we have no easy way, an efficient way of accepting applications. Applications come online, we get applications from Indeed, we get applications that are mailed in, we get some that are emailed in, and our HR person, Shannon, has to literally take each one of those, print them, scan them into the computer, and then email every application, and up to 100 in a couple of the last postings we've had, to the department heads so they can then sort them, go through them, and figure out who they want to go interview. They're then stored in Laserfiche. Laserfiche is not searchable. You cannot look at anything. You have no information. You have to click on each individual folder to find out the information about a specific person that you might want to interview. We waste, for the last hire, we had 100 applicants, and we made 3 copies of every application. We wasted 300 copies times an application, so 10 pages, it's 3,000 pages of paper. But that's how we have to do it, because you can't just read, not everybody has access to Laserfiche in the computer, right? It's licensed. And if you want to hand out to your committees, they have to have something in place they can read. So that's how we do it today. We need to change that, because everything that happens is manually entered. Payroll for us, and Paycom is a payroll company. Payroll for us takes 80 hours. We have one employee who spends 80 hours a pay period doing payroll. During the last week of payroll, our financial system for us to onboard new employees shuts down because we can't onboard an employee and enter stuff into payroll at the same time. We're going to work on that with a new financial system coming up in budget. But for our purposes, it really bogs the system down when we have to wait an extra week to enter employees into our computer system. This will solve that. As we onboard an employee and enter employee into the various programs that we have, we're using 15 separate databases for payroll and for employee benefit tracking and onboarding. That's data entry 15 separate times, not one information flowing into 15 separate categories. It's data entry into every Excel spreadsheet and database by one of our employees. It just takes a considerable amount of time. Paycom solution will, upon the application process, that information will flow through everything, right? And they'll explain that. Lastly, just a Reader's Digest version. About 4 years ago, we got rid of our evaluation system. We have right now a fillable PDF that we do evaluations on, but it doesn't track. And if one manager does an evaluation and that manager leaves and that manager saved that evaluation to the file, the next guy coming up doesn't have access to information absent going to our employee file and having a hard copy of it. So we have no way of documenting employee positive comments and negative comments. We have no way of tracking employee in one computerized system employees. If somebody were to call me and go, hey, I want to give somebody an attaboy for a positive thing they did, if I didn't write an email to myself or write an email to the manager or supervisor that they can then document it in their own personnel system that they have downstairs, nobody would know about it. This system will give us access to an entire evaluation system where I can go in, or anybody can go in, and enter a positive comment about an employee, and it'll be there for evaluation purpose. They click on the employee, everything pops up. Right? Police department's the only department in the village that has that, and they have a separate system because they're required to by CLIA. But outside of that, nobody else in the village has that. So, without me taking too much more time up, that's kind of the reason why we're here today, because we found a system that's going to work for us. We're on a timeline to get this implemented by January 1st, which is why we're here tonight, because I want to bring this up to the next board meeting. I'm going to ask you at the end of this meeting, or Mayor is going to ask you at the end of this meeting for a motion for us to enter into a contract with Paycom, right, after Peter reviews it, of course. But the goal is to get this to an agenda on a next board meeting so that we can start the process. And you see we have a very tight timeline to get all this information moved over and get the process onboarded. So Madison has been our primary sales rep. She's been fantastic. She's had about 12 meetings with the HR team, and she will be up here presenting along with Connie and Kayla. They'll be here as support and backup and to answer any technical questions you have. So this is an opportunity for us to really move forward with some really good software that's going to benefit us. I want the board to be fully informed. I want you to ask as many questions as you have so that we can make an informed decision tonight. Thanks. Madison?
Hi guys, I'm Madison Stutman. I have been meeting with your team for probably about the past 6 months. And first of all, I want to thank you all so much for being here tonight. I really appreciate the time you're all taking out of your night to meet with us and to learn more about Paycom and what we can do to help the village of Glendale Heights.
So Madison's going to be running most of the presentation. My name's Kayla Stewart. I'm the Regional Vice President for Paycom over the Central Region. Have over 10 years of experience within the industry, and we have worked with many, many villages, especially within the state of Illinois. So excited to share why that is.
So for the agenda for tonight, we're going to just share a little more about Paycom, what we do here, what kind of company we are. Then we are going to go into the impacts we will have on your organization and specifically how we will impact each department. I actually did intense analyses with some of your different environments to really understand your current processes right now. So I'm gonna specifically be able to tell you guys the future environment that you guys will be able to have in a partnership with Paycom.
I can hop in on this slide. My name's Connie Smith, and I manage Illinois for Paycom. I'm here as support to Madison, and I've been on probably about a third of the meetings as well, from first call through analysis, through some of the pricing and packages conversations. In terms of just introducing Paycom as an organization, we're about 25 years old, and we were actually the first cloud-based payroll software. So through that, I mean, really, what we like to call ourselves is human capital management software, and ultimately we're looking to make the village more efficient and more effective with the people that we have. So we were founded in '98. We have 54 sales teams across the United States, 54 locations. We support now over 37,000 companies with almost a 95% non-contractual retention rate. Beyond that, we were the fastest ever to enter the S&P 500 once we did go public in 2014, and since then have remained at a pretty exponential growth rate, mostly because our strategy is a little bit different when it comes to our clients, and really what that means is we're focused heavily on your employees, because we know that if we focus on the employees, that it'll actually reduce the back end administrative burden that Doug was alluding to here at the beginning.
So these are just a few of our clients that I thought you might be familiar with up on the board, but we work with a ton of villages across the nation. So we're extremely familiar with the structure of your organization. We also work with a ton of YMCAs, Ace Hardware, Daisy Sour Cream, a bunch of family known brands as well.
And one thing that I would add, the reason why we're such a great fit for park districts, villages, municipalities, is that payroll is more complex because employees get paid different rates, different types of overtime blended with those rates, and the automation within our payroll tool it supersedes what's available in the market because of our payroll product, Betty, and the way that time and attendance and payroll are able to be automated together. So more to come on that.
So when it comes to Paycom's strategy, we were actually built organically, meaning that rather going out and acquiring or partnering with different systems, we have built everything from scratch all in-house. So we are one single system from hire to retire. So absolutely anything you guys will be able to need to do in HR is all in one single system. And our primary focus is to have the employees be utilizing the system as much as possible. So Ernst & Young actually did a study, and they found that per change HR is making in the system that an employee could be making, it is costing your organization $4.71, which is an astronomical amount. So our goal is to have the employees do as much as possible because they could be.
And Doug mentioned that for a new hire, their data is being entered 15 different times. That reoccurrence happens if an employee gets married and their taxes change, their benefits change, their direct deposit might change, their address may change. So that's a revolving circle. And in Paycom, when an employee makes a change, it flows through the rest of the system. So when an employee applies in Paycom, that's the start of their employee record once they're hired. So data is entered from the source, which is the employee, and then it flows through where HR and payroll and managers can see the data flowing.
And I think one more thing to add to that too is ultimately, we're not trying to put more work on the employees. We're actually trying to eliminate the time that they're spending doing those duplicative tasks. So if you think about entering something 15 times, it has to come from the employee first, right? We have to get the data from the employee. So what we are proposing is that they enter and they interact with the database themselves rather than writing it on a piece of paper, giving it to Nicole to then give to 10 other places and then enter in 10 different databases. We're saying, hey, why don't we just allow them to enter it in themselves, and then that's going to flow into every other piece of the database that it needs to fill, if that makes sense.
So on the screen right here, I have two different numbers. This was approximately our labor costs and our revenue for this past year. So we spent approximately $16 million in labor. This is how we're managing $16 million. This times 8, depending on the different departments. So what this is a process map of our current environment. And let me tell you, this is an extremely conservative process map, considering all of the different departments. But what this means is, yes, we might have several different systems, but we have several different systems. We're still using Excel. We're still spending countless hours building out reports, and most things are still on paper. So these red lines up here on this process map, these represent manual tasks. So the amount of manual tasks we are doing, and we're all human, we all make mistakes. One manual task is more room for error. And this is how we are managing our payroll. So it might start with the employee clocking in and clocking out. Then it goes through several different systems. It then goes to emails. It then goes to the secretary and back to the manager. Then the manager sends it to the payroll department, and there might be an issue, and she is actually fixing those problems on behalf of the employee. So as you can see here, it's just an extremely cumbersome process when it comes to our biggest line item, which is payroll and labor.
Well, the employee has no visibility into this. So that's what we're going to show you when we show you Paycom, is that the employee right now doesn't see what their check is calculating to until the dollars are in their bank account. And there's lots of nuance that goes into their check calculation. So Paycom actually shows them how their check is calculating. And if there is something that was missed along the way, they're able to correct it before they're paid wrong.
So what I'm actually going to do now, I am going to pull up my phone just to kind of show you guys a glimpse of what it would look like in the future environment in Paycom. So how I log in here is just Face ID. That's how I have my iPhone set up. And this is what it will look like for the employee's perspective logging into the Paycom app. So the Village of Glendale Heights, and here are all of our modules, which there's some closer up pictures in the folders in front of you. But what this is a one-stop shop for everything pertaining to HR, enrolling in benefits. Right here is where it could actually clock in and clock out, which will be geofenced to the location I am working. We also have time and attendance based off labor allocations. So if I am working as a lifeguard 1 hour and then the next hour I'm working in another department, the Paycom system will automatically know my change in pay, my change in PTO accruals, and anything pertaining to that. I could simply request time off right from here, right from my mobile phone. And in a matter of seconds, my manager will now receive a notification, hey, Madison Stutman just requested time off for next Friday. Can you allow her to do that or not? Submitting any expenses, going over any documents. So our village handbook, our monthly newsletters that come out every month. From an employee's perspective, I now have insight into everything that's happening in the company right from my mobile device right in front of me. Yes, you can 100% access from your computer as well, but it's nice to have the option to have it from your phone. So even enrolling in benefits, what we've found these days is that families want to enroll in benefits when they're sitting on their couch next to their husband or wife, being able to have an open conversation. Should I enroll in this benefit? Should I not? So having the opportunity to enroll in benefits from any time at any location is what people are looking for. And the last thing that I want to note, or two last things, one is performance. At the moment, and I'll dive into this a little further in a moment, we have no consolidated one way for performance reviews. And what we've realized this past crazy few years is that even if people don't necessarily want to be a manager or want to move up, they want to know that there's opportunity for growth for them at the Village of Glendale Heights. And a lot of them don't know that. So through performance reviews, we will be able to have everyone feel more connected to the Village of Glendale Heights. And then the last thing on here that I want to note on is learning. So we actually have all of the state Illinois mandated required training courses. So that already will be in the Paycom system, and now your team won't have to run around making sure that they've done all the legally required training courses. Aside from that, the different departments could also come up with their department-specific training courses that the managers would like to do as well. So one last thing I want to show you guys in the mobile app before we move on is our feature called Betty. Betty stands for Better Employee Transaction Interface. And what we've realized is the average American lives paycheck to paycheck. And after just 2 payroll errors, someone will be leaving the company most likely. Because, if I'm supposed to be paid $100 to buy my groceries on Friday, and I'm not paid that $100, I'm simply going to walk out of this company. And at the moment, we do have payroll errors. So what we did at Paycom is sit down and realize, well, how could we prevent this? And now, every other Friday on my phone, I get a notification saying, hey, Madison Stutman, it is now time to approve your check. So what we are doing here is being proactive when it comes to payroll errors rather than retroactive. So
And one thing to add here, even if the check is correct, because hopefully they've entered all their data themselves with their time card in Paycom, and they can actually see their time card, which in Time Clock Plus today, they have very limited access to view their data. Even if it's correct, year to date, just to give you guys some context for Betty, 80%, we have millions of employees processing payroll with their companies in Paycom today. 80% of employees take action on their check within 30 minutes of getting the notification. So whether that's on their phone or on their computer, because they get an email as well. Why is that? Well, employees care about their pay. So even if it's right, they want to see how much they're being paid so that they can have a few extra days to plan for their expenses. And what we found is this is a great benefit to employees. So they're able to see how much their check is well in advance of the paycheck actually hitting their bank account, and have a couple extra days to plan, which gives them a little more financial freedom than waiting until the deposit has been made.
One more thing to add on this too. So when you think, and if you want to just go back to the home screen real quick, when you think of where each of those data points came from in payroll, my benefits deductions, my taxes that are coming out of each check, my expenses that I had to submit a receipt for, they're giving you guys that information. Again, not to sound like a broken record, but we have to get it from them. So if they're the ones that are entering their own time, if they're the ones that are entering their own information from a tax standpoint, if they're the ones that are signing off on their documents here, if they're the ones that are completing a performance review and getting a raise, well, now they're actually able to see that in their paycheck. Up until this point, we kind of give them that information, and they fill this out, and they fill this out, and they fill out this piece of paper, and then it gets to the pay, and they're kind of blindfolded. And then it hits their bank account, and hopefully it's correct. Now, not only are we giving them access from a task standpoint to do every single thing that they need to do, rather on a piece of paper, actually in a consumer grade technology that they're used to using every day, Amazon, Chase Bank, et cetera, we're also taking kind of the wool off of their eyes and allowing them to say, yeah, actually I entered this information, now I'm just confirming that it's correct in my pay.
So this is what we just showed you guys. I believe that there's screenshots in there, but the future payroll process. So, right now, the individual who's processing payroll, it's taking 70 to 90 hours in a week. It's going to take maybe an eighth of that time. So think about the amount of hours just one person will get back in her week, and what would your payroll specialist be able to do with 5 extra hours given back in her week?
In addition to that, we find that frontline managers' time is also very wasted and bogged down because the payroll person has to go back to the manager has to go back to the employee because the employee was missing a punch or the employee was missing something that's causing their check to have an error. And so not only does it save time for your payroll administrator, it also saves time for every single department head and frontline manager.
Actually, today, the way it works is the employee gets his paycheck, and if there's an error on the paycheck, they might not get it till Monday, right? And then now we're backtracking on payroll issues instead of being proactive on them.
So the employee finds out if it's wrong. Paycom just lets them see it ahead of time and then make sure that they get paid right, rather than going through a weekend and or a couple days into the next week without, their check being whole.
So right up on the screen here, this is Paycom's solution. So we actually offer everything from hire to retire. So we actually will help when it comes to the recruitment process. We have a whole applicant tracking and recruiter dashboard. So we will actually be able to know how many applicants have applied to these different positions. We will be able to schedule interviews right through the Paycom system, as well as communicate with the people who want to work here. We are also only gonna be taking the time to view applicants that are qualified for the positions instead of wasting countless hours trying to communicate with people who really shouldn't even be working here. So from the start of recruitment to the day that someone is retiring, we will be able to completely support them throughout the HR process with workflows instead of workarounds. And we will have absolutely everything in one location. So it will be one-stop shop instead of 85 different places that we're going in the moment. So not only is our focus to make HR and finance and the administrator's life easier, but like we've been chatting about, our focus is to make your employees and your manager's life easier. So when your employees are entering their own data and when your managers are on the go and can view, oh, hey, Sally just requested PTO, I'm gonna approve that, rather than going 15 through steps, your culture will boost dramatically.
And having all those data points in one place for your managers and department leaders makes their life easier, because if someone calls off sick and they have an overnight shift, well, that has to be covered. And so now they're alerted that when they approve that sick time, now there's a shift that needs to be covered. So it's all interconnected. If someone gets terminated or retires, now it prompts that there's a job posting that needs to go out. So it actually alleviates a lot of administrative burden from your frontline managers.
So when it comes to the impacts Paycom will have on the village of Glendale Heights, I mean, there are many, and I'll drive into all of them, but I think the main thing is, I had one of your employees tell me that I love working here, but it's hard to stay afloat with this current environment. So our goal is to give them a stable environment. Our goal is to create operational efficiencies. So that way, rather than spending time doing manual calculations, our team is focusing on what they love, and that's improving the village of Glendale Heights and making sure the employees are happy to work here. So the other half of it is compliance and exposure. Obviously, like we've said, the more manual processes, the more room for exposure, the more room for lawsuits. Wage and hour litigation lawsuits have over tripled this past year. And thankfully, not that I know of, you guys haven't had any lawsuits, but at this point, it could come any moment, and that's what we are preventing by having an audit trail of absolutely everything we are doing in the Paycom system. So when it comes to operational efficiencies, I mean, we won't be, currently, our environment, we're spending hours calling applicants to have them ignore us or tell us that, hey, we're not interested, that was 6 months ago when we applied. There's no standardization when it comes to the application process. We don't have the insight into our business. We don't know what turnover rate is the highest amongst which department. We don't know how much our headcount necessarily fluctuates within the snap of a finger. And your department's heads don't have access to all of the information. And if they do, I mean, they're spending hours trying to do a manual calculation to figure this out.
And I think it's important to note too that all of the teams and all the departments that we've met with, I mean, are doing an incredible job with what they have. It's not, you know, it's not, oh, there's payroll errors. Oh, you know, this department's messing up this or that. With what they have, it's actually incredible, you know, where we are right now. But if we can give back the administrative team, let's say 50% of the time even, that they're spending on payroll and duplicative entry, I would say it's probably closer to 90% in terms of what they're actually doing. With the dual entry, with one to the next, to the next, to the next, and then making sure payroll's all accurate and making sure our time and attendance is accurate and making sure benefits are all entered in correctly. We're just trying to give them that time back because what we know is that the administrative team, you know, they don't want to be in HR because they want to enter data all day. They want to be in HR because they care about the people at this organization and they want to actually propel these people forward. You know, so we're trying to give time back from an operational efficiency standpoint and eliminate any exposure. When we talk about exposure, we're also talking about compliance. So like learning management, we need people to take harassment courses. We need people to take active gun shooter courses. We need people to take all of these things that are actually not only putting you in a better spot as an organization, but also covering your backs from that standpoint. Wore that one out, I guess.
And the last main impact that we want to focus on today is the cultural and personal impact that we will have on your organization. And I think we've been discussing this throughout the entire presentation, but we've realized that employees want access to their own data now. They, you know, if I'm moving in a new apartment tomorrow and I can't even get my landlord a pay stub, here's me sitting here as a frustrated employee, and I come to work upset. So we want to change this environment. The more of a culture boost we could give you guys, the more our seasonal workers will come back every summer. I mean, obviously we have a ton more workers in the summer, almost sometimes 200 more workers, and some don't come back. Well, we also have no idea why, and we don't have the proper reporting to know why, but now we will.
And another thing I would add, I actually had the opportunity to meet with the team a couple of months ago, and there's a fantastic team in place. You guys care about your employees. Employees love working for the village. And what we're most excited about is having a technology that can reflect that, how much you care about employees. Paycom is really an investment in technology for employees, and it gives you protective strategy for compliance, and it also creates immense operational efficiency. So the cultural benefit is huge because it is a value add for employees. But I also just want to recognize that the team has worked very hard to support employees with the systems and processes that are in place. And it's very exciting to think about how the team could support employees even better once they gain all those efficiencies back.
So one thing we really want to focus on is driving your guys' executive strategy. So at the moment, all of our different departments have different processes. And when we do try to come up with a new process, it's just too hard because everybody's in totally different environments. So when we have one standardized solution for every person at our company, that is our goal here. And that's what's going to get you the return on investment by investing into the Paycom solution. And how we do that ultimately is getting your employees to be more engaged in the system and through our implementation strategy, which I will discuss in a moment here.
I can chat on this for a quick second. So through the analysis that we did, multiple with multiple departments and hours, I think, of sitting down and just talking through what are the processes that surround payroll, how do we get some explicit savings back, but how do we get, honestly, more importantly, what's the opportunity cost? You know, what hours can we get back into who, into what departments? What we put together here was for just one department. This is just an overview of where we found some of the savings to be. So there's multiple there on the left side for explicit savings, but to focus your eyes on the time and labor part, just in onboarding alone. You know, we talked briefly about recruiting, but onboarding alone, once we do actually hire the people, we're spending, you know, thousands of hours just getting the people into the systems, okay? Just in one department alone, we're looking at 500 hours back, okay? And then duplicate that over all of the other processes that are taking us more hours than they should because we've got so many hands on deck trying to get them in there. It's looking at about over 1,000 hours back between your administrative team, between payroll, between your supervisors. And I think that the thought of that is, what can we do with those hours? I mean, what would we rather be focusing on? What would our supervisors rather focus on? What would our department heads rather focus on than those couple hours, 5 hours that they're spending weekly doing some of this stuff? So I can talk through a couple packages that we put together for the village. We showed you on the one screen with all the little logos on it. That's our entire suite. But what we wanted to do was, put together package 1, 2, and 3. Package 1 would be sort of, let's do a base package. You know, what do we want to go for here? We want to solve for the biggest efficiencies on the forefront. We put together package 2, which would be what we would recommend, plus a couple other things that would be super, super helpful. And then we put together a package 3, which would be the ideal package. If we could get everything that we wanted, if we wanted to get 100% of the efficiency, 100% of the savings that we believe we can, we put together that ideal package. And the ideal package really encompasses almost our entire full product suite. So that's everything from obviously payroll. And with payroll, when we talk about compliance and exposure, we're covering all your tax liability. So that's something just huge on the forefront to keep in mind from an exposure standpoint. So we're handling, tax liability. We're handling time and attendance, PTO. We're handling benefits. We're handling applicant tracking, onboarding. Anytime there needs to be a document. Oh, yeah, this slide may not be in the original folder that we printed out. I'm sorry. Yeah, we'll send the whole copy of it. We had to
It's in your PowerPoint.
Oh, it is in there? Okay, great. I just saw everyone rustling, and I was like, oh, no. And then, fast forward all the way to the ideal. That's including E-Verify. Manually, you have to verify every employee. Performance and compensation. So we have performance reviews built in. We have 360 reviews. We have tracking your goals, tracking competencies over different departments. And what does that mean in relation to what increases look like for our people? So now not only can I see what my performance has been, but I can see if I've gotten any raise because of it, okay? 401k file feeds encompassing benefits, and then we have the full learning management, which encompasses all the trainings. We've got the expense management covering all of the expenses and the receipts and all of that, and then we have the time and attendance and all the capabilities that come with that. So we would recommend, and I think, what would be the most advantageous for the village would be package 3, which would be the ideal package. But, you guys can each look through those in your PowerPoints as well.
The other thing to note, so the annual cost is $142,000, and there is an upfront implementation fee, which covers all of the data migration from all the various systems today, manual and historic systems, as well as the build out of all new processes within Paycom. So we actually take on the work of building that into the system so that your managers and employees can start using it as of January 1st.
And we've outlined, and Maddie can hop in here, but we've outlined for a January 1st start, we've already talked through with all of the teams what an implementation will look like with Paycom, what resources are needed, and what that timeline looks like. So you can go ahead and hop into that.
Yeah, so we have already come up with a plan on how we are going to have an efficient and effective implementation for you guys to go live with the Paycom system in January 1st. So I obviously have been your executive sales process throughout, the past months, meeting with your team. However, I'm not just in sales. I'm always a resource for the team, and I don't just leave you guys once I sell you Paycom. So we truly look at this as a partnership. You guys will also get one dedicated specialist. We don't have phone trees, we don't have different departments because we are organically grown. Everyone here at Paycom is trained in every aspect of the system. So your HR team, they will actually be able to have a relationship with one person and ask her any and all questions on the daily basis. So what means a lot to us is also success benchmarking. We hope that you guys look at us as a long-term consultant as well. So we will actually come to you and share, hey, these are the statistics we've seen within villages across the country. Hey, this is your turnover rate, and the most is coming from this department on this month in this year. How can we help you when it comes to accomplishing your goals? So we're actually going to show you how much you are leveraging your technology. And we actually have something in the Paycom system called the Direct Data Exchange, where you all will be able to see down to the penny at any time in any location how much you all will be saving just by utilizing the Paycom system. So when it comes to implementation, we actually work in 4 different processes. So once we pick when we want to go live, which is in January, we really work backwards. So
Before you hop into that too, you'll have a team of 5 to 6 people working directly on your account. So I oversee all implementations in Illinois, along with the manager of transitions who sits out of our Naperville office as well. So we work very closely in terms of all transitions from an operational standpoint. Kayla, high level, oversees all implementations for really the Midwest region.
Just to add on to that, so Madison mentioned the direct data exchange. We don't need to go into the weeds of what that means, but basically it's a guarantee that we fully implement your product so that employees and managers and administrators can fully utilize everything that you're paying for. I actually get involved if anyone's under 95% utilization after their first month with us. Myself and Taylor Woods, who's the regional implementation manager, we get on a call, we look at, do we need an additional project plan, a secondary project plan after go live to actually implement these products. So what that means to you is that you're not going to have a system that you're paying for that you're not getting the value for. So it's really a guarantee of what you've invested in, you're going to capitalize on.
So when it comes to our project plan for implementation within the next few months, our goal would be to partner with you all within the next few days. And once we do that, we start the data collection process. So what this will consist of is us getting your logins to the different systems as well as the different paperwork and extracting all of your data. We will then scrub your data. We don't want to put bad data into our new system. So if there's any duplicate names or duplicate people in the system, we will make sure we have all of the correct, necessary, clean data. And then we will actually, we'll collect all of that data, and then we call it a blackout stage. So our team of 8 individuals will actually be building out the Paycom system tailored to your organization. So we'll be getting all of the rules from the different departments, depending on PTO or benefits or whatever it may be. Then, throughout the month of November, we will actually be completely building out your Paycom system tailored to your guys' specific rules in the different departments. From there is when the trainings will happen. So we don't want your team to be, they have enough going on throughout their day. We don't want them to be training your employees how to use the system. So we actually will train down to the employee level. So we will train your employees, your managers, and any administrators in the system how to use every aspect of the Paycom system. And we also have ongoing training. So we have different webinars that people can join. We will do the live trainings or via Zoom. We also even have how-to guides in the system. So, hey, if I forgot how to, submit PTO, well, I could go in the system at any time and it will show me, here is step 1 and 2, click this button and this button to submit my PTO. So this is something that means a lot to us because we know that A, it has to be easy to use, but B, your employees have to be shown how to use it. So that's why we care so much about trainings, and we do typically also record the trainings so that way anytime we do get new employees and when we do have a ton more employees join us in the summer, we could just say, hey, here's how to use the Paycom system.
So I know most of you would not be involved in the details of implementation. Short summary version, data collection is phase 1, phase 2 is build out, phase 3 we train all end users, employees, managers, and administrators. And then phase 4 is really where we go live. Employees start clocking in and out, they get their schedules, and we process payroll. Once employees are in the system, we take them through validation where they actually update their contact information. Employees make thousands of changes to the system at that point. They're adding their address, emergency contacts. They might even update their taxes. Maybe they had never updated that they were married or divorced or whatever the case may be. So we take them through a Welcome to Paycom checklist. That's all part of phase 4 and go live. And that would lead us right up to the first check in January. So the project plan, a lot more detail behind it. But this is just a very high level view of that. I know that we want to leave time for questions, so I'll let you wrap up, Madison.
Yeah. Well, I think lastly, we just truly want to thank you all. I mean, I've spent hours working with finance and HR, really just understanding your current processes and truly believe that a partnership with Paycom will be the best solution for the village of Glendale Heights. But now we want to open it up to you guys. We truly want you all to feel as confident and comfortable with this partnership. So I'm truly here for any and all questions you guys may have.
Okay, question. Do we need any input from the CBAs, any of the collective bargaining agreements?
So the CBAs will be a big part of, we don't need their permission, no. The rules within the CBA will be a big part of the, what they're gonna put into their system.
So we'll take the CBAs and look at them and look at the rules associated with them, and we'll just build those rules into Paycom, so it's an automated time and attendance piece that then ties to the rates, if that makes sense.
Okay. And one other question, on your Paycom pricing sheet, you've got a statement here, clocks cost $11,125 annually to lease per year. Can you explain that?
So if you were to lease time clocks, that's the price per clock per year that we charge.
So currently, we have time clocks throughout the village that employees punch a time clock on.
Right.
The goal would be to not have them punch a time clock and use the app or a computer or their phone to punch in and punch out.
Or a tablet.
Which many villages do use that
Right,
option.
and we have computers at everywhere for people to punch in and punch out now with Time Clock Plus, which we would be getting rid of. We also have time clocks for Time Clock Plus because we have people who don't want to use the app or they don't want to use a different way. I anticipate we will have some employees who don't want to use the app on their personal phone. I get it. We're probably going to have some time clocks in places for people to use to punch in and punch out.
Any estimate how many?
I'd probably say 4 or 5.
The other option there, just to keep in mind too, Doug, and I think we talked about this, is you can put tablets, not even computer, put tablets and they're locked to the clock-in screen. So basically a clock without paying for a clock. It's just it's just gonna connect to your Wi-Fi. It's gonna be IP address restricted to just the clock-in screen, so it'd be the same way of doing it. Just a little more cost effective. We see a lot of that too.
One quick question. Software and existing software that we have and hardware, what would we have to do in order to implement, if we decide to go with this? We're gonna have larger upgrades, or is our infrastructure built for it?
Yeah, so Time Clock Plus would be discontinued. So that contract would not be renewed. And as far as the current time clocks, Doug could probably speak to.
No, he's talking just.
Software in general.
Infrastructure-wise,
Yes.
right? Everything that you're doing is in the cloud,
Yeah,
right?
it's all web-based. It's all in the cloud. So no hardware needed. You wouldn't have to upgrade any systems. From an accounting software standpoint, we're already going to map the GL as is. And then if you do upgrade to a different accounting system or a new finance system, we would also map the GL to that specific one.
We have clients in all sorts of industries. We recently implemented in a coal mine environment, and they were able to get service and use it. So your technology is going to be far beyond what theirs was.
So I'm a little bit confused. When you say time clock, so usually, the employee comes here, they come to the city but if a person is going to do it through the app, so he will be sitting at home and can do it, or?
So we have geofencing included where it's actually fenced to the perimeter of their work location.
Okay.
In the building, they wouldn't be able to clock in outside of the building, not even from the parking lot.
So like in the police department, we could geofence it so they can't really punch in until they're almost at roll call.
Okay.
Right, like 50 feet within a space, right? Public Works would be the same way. It would be geofenced if if the board approves the dream package, which I'm going to ask for a motion to do, we would geofence the app to the location where they work.
So is that geofence, it's not offered to the other option we have? Like we have like 1, 2.
Right.
For the first one?
It's not the lowest ones, no.
No, so it's the
Dream package,
dream
correct?
package. And is that one time of 142 or is it like a subscription?
That's the annual fee with Paycom.
So that's an annual fee? 142K per,
Yeah, it's not a one-time fee. So it's
Okay.
paid, so the way that we bill is a base fee per payroll processed. So are we semi-monthly? Weekly? Semi-monthly? Semi-monthly. So it would be a base fee per semi-monthly payroll processed. And then,
so the other question I have is for Doug. Doug, how many other companies have you looked before even we picking up the Paycom?
We interviewed Paycom, Tyler Munis, PDS Vista, Bamboo HR, NeoGov, and Frontline.
Oh, okay. So we pick Paycom because of their pricing or before?
No, we picked Paycom because they offered us the best services for what we were looking for that solved our problems.
Okay,
The other companies really didn't solve our problems. They focused on one area, but they didn't encompass everything.
oh, okay. And now I want to come back to your database. So you said you are a cloud-based company. So what kind of encryption do you guys use? Because this data breaches nowadays are very concerned,
Yep.
issue. So how? So let's say an employee. So far I understand is, let's say I come in, I get interviewed, and I have to put my data in, correct? And that data goes to your server somewhere based in cloud, correct? And do you guys use Azure, AWS? What kind of services do you guys?
So we own and manage all of our own data centers. It's
Okay.
a 256-bit encryption, and we are one of 6 Tier 4 data centers from a security standpoint in all of North America. So pretty much the highest level of security. We've never experienced a breach, and we do pen testing
So
24/7.
is there any incident happens in the past of
We have,
breach?
in 24 and a half years, we've not experienced a breach incident ever.
Okay.
And we also can guarantee 5 nines of uptime, so we've also never been down.
Okay. And do you guys use two-factor authentication or
We do, yep.
you do? Okay, that's great.
Against some people's wishes, we do. Got to keep the hackers out.
Can we answer your question?
Yeah, you have 3 packages here. Recommended Package Plus and Dream Package. What's the difference in prices and why are you pushing the Dream Package?
The prices are at the bottom of that. I know you probably can't see it, Chester.
All right, go ahead.
But the recommended package is, I'm having a hard time reading it myself, 91,000. The recommended package plus is 111, and the dream package is 142. So.
What
the
are we
dr-
getting more in the dream package than?
Well, because it gives us all the learning management tools, which will allow us to get rid of a small piece of software that we use now for training. For J.J. Keller, $3,000 a year, we'll get rid of that. We'll be able to use their background check system, right? That we pay a company $2,000 a year to use, but we'll use their background check system for all of our onboarding.
So we're saving some money then?
Well, some. Time Clock Plus is about $30,000 a year. That'll go away, right? The efficiencies we bring back will be there. Bill will tell you today that this is affordable for today and for the future for the village. He's got some positive news for you at mid-budget in another month or so. But first person that we went to was Bill, and Bill's been part of almost every meeting with Paycom, because pricing is important. And the ability to pay for this long-term is important, because if we can't, there's no point in starting it.
Right.
And Bill has assured me that we can afford this for the long term, and that's why we're moving forward with it.
Do you have an office locally in this area? Where at?
Naperville.
Oh, Napier, you're close by.
Yep, so the implementation team, the client service team, and the sales team are all based in
I
Naperville.
had mentioned that we spent about 80 hours for a payroll. Period. How many hours are you guys gonna be spending on that? Are you gonna cut that in half or save some hours?
We have case studies of clients after implementing all of the tools that your team has evaluated that have cut their payroll processing time by 80%. And that's a combination of the payroll administrator, the frontline managers, and the employees, just the game of telephone that goes away because everything flows through and there's just single data entry that is a part of
Last
payroll.
question, what is the time period for you to train these employees? It's gonna take a day, a week, or what? For each employee or whatever you're gonna be doing?
So the Paycom app, as you guys saw, it's easy to use. If they use Facebook or Amazon, they can figure out Paycom. We do offer trainings for employees. Those span anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour because we allow time for questions. We go through scenarios with them on schedules, time cards, et cetera. We want them to be very comfortable and leave feeling like they know exactly how to use the system. But so we offer multiple sessions. We know you guys have employees working different shifts for managers and employees. Those are separate trainings.
All right, thank you.
And sorry, trustee Siddiqui, to your point also about why we chose them, besides interviewing and spending time with all these other companies through Zooms, they're the only company that came out to us.
That's good.
Seriously. Right, everything else was done from California or from somewhere else.
Yeah.
And trying to implement this through Zoom isn't gonna work for us.
Yeah.
Okay, I have multiple questions. Number one, this $142,000 per year. How long this price will be valid?
So
I mean, how many years?
we come out with thousands of product releases annually. So each month, there's product releases that get rolled out at no additional charge. Your pricing will be valid for your first year with us. You won't receive a price increase. After that, we do anywhere from a 3 to 4% price increase for the additional functionality that we roll out. So in years past, we rolled out position seat management, we rolled out manager on the go, which was huge functionality gain. We've rolled out Ask Here, which is a messaging portal for employees to ask HR questions. So you get functionality rolled out to you at no additional cost, and then we do a price increase to offset for that R&D.
Okay, supposing after 6 months or 1 year or 1.5 years, we say, but we don't want, So is there any penalty for breach of contract?
So if you say if you wanted to leave Paycom,
Yes.
well, don't do that. We have the highest retention rate in our industry, and we're non-contractual. So if you decided you wanted to move away from Paycom for any reason, I mean, I had a client that got acquired one time. They didn't have a choice. There was no penalty. We want to earn your business every day by serving you the right way and implementing you the right way. You're not locked into a buyout or anything of that nature.
Okay, next
It's
question.
payroll to payroll.
Okay, next question is training of employees. Is this included with that under 42,000?
Yes, that's included in your implementation fee.
Okay, and your service is 24/7?
No. well, Madison would probably say yeah. The team has her phone number. But our service is we operate on business hours coast to coast. So there are service teams that are available as early as 7 a.m. Central and as late as 7 p.m. Central.
Can I speak now?
Sure.
Great presentation. I just want to let you know that. Now, Doug, I don't know if this is for you or every employee gets an app on his phone.
They can.
Well, okay, let's say they do. Now, they come to work late, but they punch in at 8. I mean, could they do that? I mean,
No.
how do we,
So So the geofencing, right? The geofencing will put a perimeter around their phone on where they can punch in at, right? So that geofence, if, I'm just gonna use the police department. They gotta be in roll call at 7 a.m., right? If they are not within, I don't know how close the geofence goes, but it could be 15, 20 feet. If they are not within 15 or 20 feet of roll call, they can't punch in on the app. Right? So the GPS on the phone, right, will track where they're at. If they're not within that perimeter of the geofence, they can't punch in, and they're gonna be late. It's also on our supervisors that if they have a 7 a.m. roll call at Public Works to give their duty day, and and a person isn't there, guess what? They're late. And it's on our supervisors to take ownership of their teams and hold them accountable to being on time.
How do they clock in then?
So Madison's
So they can
actually,
get paid for the rest of the day.
They clock in late.
yeah, Madison's gonna show you guys, but the in punch from the app, if they choose to use the app, is real time. So I can't just, let's say I woke up late and I arrived at 8:45 and not 8 a.m. I can't just type in 8 a.m. When I arrive in the building and it allows me to clock in, it's going to show a real date timestamp of when I clicked clock in. So here is where it requested my location so that it would allow me to clock in within the geofence. And you can see the current date stamp is 7:30. So I wouldn't be able to just enter 8 a.m. if I arrived at 8:45. It's a real time.
okay, so, let's say a guy works 8 hours and he puts in 9.
Can't. It's not putting in time, it's clicking a button and you're punching out.
No, I'm saying, you just said that they can put their own time in the phone. For the payroll.
No. The payroll done through the app is like punching in a time clock. The phone is your time clock. And it goes real time. It goes, you don't have, it's not like your alarm that you can set, right? It just goes real time to,
So if I click end day there, I can't say 9 hours, it just says that's when I got here. And then at the end of the day, I would click out day. And it goes off of when I actually clicked the button.
So that's showing your hours then.
It's just, it's a time clock, it's just a time clock on your phone, and you have to be inside the building to be able to even use it.
So I punch in, I punch out, and then it calculates my hours based on it.
So,
there's a rolling account, Monday through Friday or whatever the days the people are working, that just tracks their time. But they cannot, it's not like the alarm clock where you can just say, I'm gonna go this many hours. It's a time clock on your phone.
Okay, now I got another dumb question because I'm not very
Question is
educated in this field.
We know.
Bingo. Me too.
Man. A guy is sick at home. Now, you said that he could send it in at home on his sick day. Now, what happens if that doesn't work and we don't know that employee's off?
So we're gonna write a policy that says they still have to call, just like they do today, their supervisor and tell them that they're sick.
Okay.
I'm with you. I don't like using technology to about that stuff that's gonna happen that day. If they're gonna be sick, we're gonna write part of the policy is gonna be that they're going to pick up the phone and call their supervisor like they would today and say, I'm sick, right?
I'll also speak from experience. My son was sick last week, and so my husband and I divided and conquered. And I called my boss and said, "Hey, my son's sick." I put the time in, but I mean, that's just professional working relationship is to let them know what's going on, and then I entered the time into the system.
But no, I understand your point, and I'm with you. And the rule we have today is gonna be the rule we have in the future.
But let's say they call, but then they don't enter it in the system. What are they not going to see on their check?
Paycheck.
They're not getting paid for that sick time, right? So they're going to see their check is lower than it should be, and then they're going to enter the time before they get paid wrong.
So what if I forget my phone at home? Does that mean that I have to go back?
Computers.
Computer?
They'll be able to use the tablet or the
Oh,
computer in the
okay, so
different
anything-
departments.
It's
So
the
do you-
same
Oh,
exact,
okay.
it's the same exact functionality from your phone to a computer.
Oh, okay. And do you guys have any help desk? So let's say if I forget my password or any kind
Employees,
of,
employees can reset their own password using the two-factor authentication, so call or text message.
yeah. But what if they are really don't know computer like myself? And, then what?
They're not allowed. No, I'm kidding. Then Nicole could help. I mean, there could be assistance for password reset with someone here. I will say most employees are able to reset as long as they can get the phone call or the text message. They're able to reset their own password, which is usually the path of least resistance because they're not having to call anyone, they're not having to email anyone. It prompts them to go through the steps to reset their password.
So it's not a help desk, it's basically the employee which you are going to dedicate to us. We have to call them to sort it out, correct?
Well, it's an automated process for them to reset their own password.
Not just passwords, but any issue that an employee might be having
Yeah.
with Paycom, just trying to learn how to use the system. Right? Is there an FAQ? Is there a
Would have-
help? So you have training videos?
Of course, yeah. We have Paycom University. There's resources for them on how to use the system. If they were struggling with like enrolling in benefits or something related to your organization, then they would work through Nicole.
Yeah, I mean, you probably have like a user ID and password, correct? So let's say if I'm typing something wrong in my user ID and say, I'm not familiar with the computer and after like couple of tries, I lose my patience. I say, I really don't know. So at that time, whom I have to reach? Because I know it's an automated process, but when you are entering it, and especially because you guys are using geofencing and I don't want to be late because my time has to be punched in or I have to log into your system to say that I am here. And if it doesn't work in couple of tries, because I don't remember if I forget my password or forget my user ID, at that time, whom I can talk to? I need to talk to some person, not an automated, because I hate when I call and it has an automated system.
So our service teams are live people. We don't have automated phone trees, ticketing, anything like that. It is live people, but we reserve those for the administrators of the system because employees probably are going to go to their supervisor who can help them or someone within the personnel or HR team. As far as getting logged into the system, we help them get logged in the first time. Most employees have fingerprint or face ID to get logged in, then they're forward. So their password and username are saved to their phone. But otherwise, they could work through Nicole if you want to.
HR will always be available to help. We've kind of, just like how we help employees now, we'll be able to help employees then. And like how Time Clock Plus, if somebody misses a punch or miscategorizes accrued benefit time use, we can override it. So if somebody is within the premises and they can't get their phone to work or their phone dies, we will be able to go in and actually input that time, and it'll be time stamped with a user of who corrected the time. In terms of creating or correcting usernames and passwords, it's going to be just like you would do your Facebook. that whole forgot your password, and it'll text you a code. You enter in the code, and then it'll allow you to create a new password to get you back into the system. And then, of course, they have their Paycom University, where there's videos and FAQs if you kind of want to figure it out on your own. If not, definitely come to HR. If we can't figure it out, they are still available to us even after implementation.
So HR and team, they'll still have access to everybody's username and password. So if there's an issue, they can get in. If they weren't able to clock in that day and it was an app problem, then, that punch will be fixed. And Nicole and team will be able to get them in.
And it's geofencing. Are we fine with the privacy on that? Like, because let's say some employees say, why you are tracking me? Why you are tracking me? Is that something which we are comfortable with our laws and privacy laws?
There's nothing illegal about it.
Okay.
And it doesn't track outside of the punch period. If for some reason you decided you didn't want that, with the geofencing, another option is Bluetooth beacons that you can have attached to the wall or near a workstation, and they just have to enable Bluetooth they'd have to be within Bluetooth range. So some people prefer that because they can't even just step in the building and clock in. They have to be at their work site.
Doug, I have a question for you real quick. You're saying that the police department uses a similar system, correct?
No, I was just using them as an example.
Oh, I thought they had something like this.
No,
I
I was just using them for
misunderstood
an
you then.
example, yeah.
Because I thought if they were using it, we can piggyback on them.
No, I was just using them as an example because I know the space and one-time roll call is.
What do they use then? What do you guys use?
It's different. So ours, we have to cover by state mandate. We have to do pursuits, use of force. So that's what Doug was referring to. We have a system that's similar, but it won't work for the village just because there's different aspects. And that one's law enforcement based. So
Because of CLIA?
yes,
Okay.
yes. So their system works great for the village and as a whole.
Okay, thank you.
What are you looking for, Doug?
What other villages are using your system?
Here, I'll go back. Oh wait, this is.
Any,
Well,
any
Doug-
surrounding ones?
Yeah, lots. Village of Rosemont is a client of ours.
Wooddale,
Yeah,
Brookfield.
Wooddale. Well, Doug actually had a champion within Glendale Heights that we didn't even know about.
I had a meeting with Teamsters, Public Works, new reps earlier in the week. And I told them that we were having this conversation, that we were gonna be switching, and the employee went, hope you're going to Paycom. I went, we are. I didn't tell him who we were going to. And he goes, I used it in Wooddale. I love it. It's a good system.
And we also work with majority of the park districts in the area as well.
And again, the reason for that is just across the different departments, there's rates that are paid differently based on the jobs that employees are working, deferred comp, overtime. All of those calculations are seamless in Paycom, which they're very challenging in many other systems.
Trustee Schmidt?
Okay, if my shift is from 8 to 4:30, I clock in at 7:55 and out at 8 or 4:35, do I get paid that extra 10 minutes?
No.
Or, okay, it's just
No,
strictly?
because there's a 7-minute rule.
Okay,
So we make every employee adhere to the 7-minute rule. You cannot punch in prior to 7 minutes to your start of your shift or punch out later than 7 minutes after your shift. And if you do, and if you make the 10-minute mark, right, that kind of starts overtime. And you have to have A, approval, and B, a reason to be here on overtime.
And Paycom, excuse me, I can't do both. Paycom will put in all of our rules. So the contract rules, our policies, so that we are alerted when there's extra time to approve.
good, thank you.
And those are coded as deviated minutes in Paycom. So anytime an employee is working outside of the schedule, it's going to alert that that's deviated time.
Hi, I'm the IS administrator. I just have 3 questions. I have just 3 quick questions. Sounds awesome. We've had HR issues with software for a long time, so it's been a long time coming. One, we have a pretty quick turnaround timeframe. I want to know how much IS is going to have to help with the data and setting up servers and working with you guys to make this, because obviously it's a priority,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, so we do these implementations every month. We have clients that go live every month, and we have to pull down the same data for employee demographic information, pay rates, et cetera. So we have what we call a data ops team. Sounds very militant, but basically what they do is they work through your systems to pull down the data. What we would want your support in is reviewing the data and just making sure that what we've pulled is clean. We know what to look for, but you know your data. So we work in conjunction with you. Really in phase one, that would be the most of the time that we would spend with you. We typically block out a 2-hour period to go through those files.
Okay. The other question would be, we're talking about getting a new financial system, so if we set this up now, we'd have to reset it up for the new system?
That is we try to keep payroll a small a part of finance as it is.
Set up outside?
Yeah, so we map the journal entry today as is, and then we would remap under the new financial software.
Okay.
And this is compatible with the software that we're looking to go to.
One final question. Do you use AWS?
We actually own and operate our own data center, so we do not.
Good.
That's a good point for you.
Hey, before I moved to Chicago, I with Paycom was the Seattle sales manager, and that was not a popular thing to share with people. Like, why don't you use AWS? Well, our founder and CEO wants control of how we protect our data.
So how is your company different than Gusto, ADP, or Paychex, and why I should pick your company?
Yeah, that's a good question. So Gusto and Paychex are small business providers. I actually have a friend, Gusto refers us business over 100 employees.
Okay.
I have a friend that works at Paychex. Her average client that she brings on is 1 to 2 employees, many CPA firms, just smaller businesses. ADP has been around for 70 years. They started as a fax-based, mail-based, then fax-based, then server-based, on-prem based, then floppy downloaded software. And they have been very reactionary to the cloud. So their app is extremely complex, not built for employees and managers to use, especially not ones that are constantly on the go, not physically in front of a computer all of the time. So the biggest difference why people pick Paycom is because our technology is simple, it's easy to use. We've developed all of it. ADP's acquired all of their different modules over the years. They've had the capital to buy different systems, and that creates a very complex interface for employees and managers, and it's really not built for them to use it. So employees can't see the payroll. It would be just as reactionary as your environment today.
Oh, okay, so basically you are enterprise level. And, okay, and
We serve mid-market. Our largest client has up to 30,000 employees, but most of our clients have a few hundred to a few thousand. But we cater to the employee versus ADP really just caters to the payroll person.
so do you have like interactions or direct link or something, hiring job sites like Indeed? And so let's say the resume is there and I'm applying. Is there some kind of a liaison or some kind of a transformation connections between your software and that website?
Yep, we connect directly to job boards.
Okay, so it's applied, it comes to, supposedly Miss Lewis, and, okay, all right.
Okay, so Doug, what are you looking for?
So I'm looking for a motion for the board to approve the ideal package for us to work a contract with Paycom. The dream package.
So how much you are spending right now, Doug?
Well, currently for Time Clock Plus, we have about $30,000 in Time Clock Plus that
Okay.
would go away. Outside of that, we do our own payroll. So our payroll is all on us.
Okay.
So there's about $34,000 with the other two, JJ Keller and IntelliCorp, that would go away.
Okay. So let's say if we have this, then are we gonna let go some of our
Well,
employee?
I'm gonna be bringing forward, next board meeting, some other information. We have a lot of work to do in finance. If we can reallocate those hours to more efficiencies in finance, for as long as the employees want to work that do payroll, we'll work on that. But I'd probably like to talk to you privately about that too. But right now, we're looking to get this going, and then we'll deal with the efficiencies, hopefully in the future, to make finance even more efficient and get a lot of the lagging stuff that they're doing done.
I want to make sure, I know what I heard, but I want to hear it again. I want to make sure. This system is compatible to the system that we're gonna be getting, the newer system.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
No extras or
No.
nothing?
Well, there might be a fee to connect to that
Oh,
new
yeah, I
system,
mean,
right? But
Nothing big?
no.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay, this 142,000, go ahead.
Well, if you're looking for a motion, I'd like to make a motion.
The mayor's got it.
Question.
Oh,
This 140,000, does it depend upon number of employees?
Yeah, so as your headcount dips after the summer, your cost would go down as well, and then it would pick back up in the summer. So it's per paid employee per pay period. You're not charged for the active records, but just the number of people paid. So that should reflect your seasonality.
Thank you. Okay, I need motion.
Peter?
well, I got one more question.
Go ahead.
I forgot.
Sure.
When it comes to snow plowing, Doug, you know, these guys work 14, 16 hours. How is that gonna work? When they punch in and out?
They get paid their time and a half. It'll all work out in the system.
It will? Okay, as long as you guys have figured in.
I think Bill.
Peter, can we have a motion under OMA?
Oh, yeah, this is the agenda item. so
Okay.
You definitely can.
Okay.
Is anybody else has question? No? Okay, I need motion to enter into contract negotiation with Paycom.
And the contract would come back. For the dream package, right? It would come back.
Trustee Light
Dream
and
vacation.
trustee Pojek, second.
Yeah, like,
Yeah. the dream
Doug
package.
mentioned for the dream package, that's package 3, right?
Correct.
Okay, make the motion to accept Procom or Paycom.
Is there a second?
Paycom, yes. Second is trustee Light.
Second.
Discussion?
We already did.
None? Roll call, vote please.
Trustee Meritato?
Yes,
Trustee Pojek?
Definitely.
Trustee Schroeder?
she left.
Oh.
Yeah, she left.
Trustee Schmidt?
Yes.
Trustee Siddiqui?
Yes.
Trustee Light?
Yes.
The motion to enter into contract negotiation with Paycom is approved.
Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We really appreciate all of you.
Guys,
and
for your time.
We're excited to partner with
Motion
all
to
of you.
adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We now go on to public discussion of agenda items. Is there anyone in the public that would like to address this board on an agenda item only? No public.
Motion to adjourn.
Have anybody online?
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Trustee Light, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, trustee Pojek, second.
You can do a voice.
Roll call vote, please.
Yeah.
Trustee Pojek?
Yes.
Trustee Schroeder? Trustee Schmidt? Trustee Siddiqui?
Yes.
Trustee Light?
Yes.
Trustee Meritato?
Yes.
This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all very much for being here. I appreciate it.